Have you ever been misunderstood, insulted or betrayed, and felt the urge to speak up, defend yourself or lash out? What if the real strength is found not in your words, but in your silence? What if, in the middle of conflict, silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom? Before we dive in, if you're on a journey of growth, self-mastery, and mental clarity, hit that subscribe button, because these lessons could change the way you see power forever. Now, let's uncover the ancient and life-altering power of silence. 1. Silence is not surrender, it's a strategy. In a world that rewards volume over value and noise over nuance, the ability to remain silent has become a rare strength. We live in an era where people feel pressured to voice their opinions on everything, to respond instantly, to argue, to prove their point, and to validate their emotions publicly. But what if true power lies not in saying something, but in saying nothing? Silence, when chosen deliberately, is not a sign of weakness. It's a calculated act of emotional discipline. It's a strategy. It's a shield, a way to create space between stimulus and response. When others are shouting, reacting, or scrambling for attention, the quiet individual appears composed, mysterious, and centered. This isn't accidental. It's intentional. A Stoic understands this. A Stoic doesn't speak to be heard. They speak when it adds value. And when silence adds more value than words ever could, they choose silence. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This line carries the entire philosophy of using silence as strength. When someone wrongs you, insults you, or attempts to provoke you, the expected reaction is retaliation. But to refuse to respond in kind, to instead meet hostility with poise, is to rise above the conflict. It sends a clear message. You cannot pull me into the chaos. I am untouchable by petty provocations. Consider how powerful this is in practice. You're in a room full of noise, arguments, accusations, debates, and yet you choose to stay still, to observe, to wait. That stillness becomes magnetic. People begin to notice your composure. They wonder what you're thinking, why you're not engaging, what you know that they don't. In your silence, you create mystery, and in mystery, there is power. Think of silence as a form of resistance, not passive, but purposeful. It protects your peace. It creates boundaries without confrontation. It doesn't mean you're ignoring reality. It means you're choosing not to let reality provoke you. This discipline isn't easy. It's far easier to lash out, to defend yourself, to scream back. But those who can master the art of the pause, who can remain silent while their emotions roar inside them, are truly in control. And control is the key. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to explain yourself to those who misjudge you. Your worth isn't up for debate. Let your actions speak. Let your presence radiate calm. Let your silence unsettle those who expect chaos. When you stop feeling the need to prove yourself, you start reclaiming your energy. And energy is precious. Every unnecessary argument, every emotional reaction is a withdrawal from your mental bank account. Save your strength. Let your silence speak for you. 2. Fighting lies gives them life. There's a dangerous trap many people fall into, trying to combat every lie told about them. It's natural to want to set the record straight, to defend your name, to make people see the truth. But what if every time you respond to a lie, you validate it? What if, in fighting the falsehood, you give it oxygen? The Stoics believed that truth does not need panic. It does not need drama. It simply needs time. Lies are like fire. They need fuel to keep burning. And often that fuel comes in the form of your reaction. By constantly trying to correct people's misconceptions, you unwittingly place yourself on trial. You take the stage they built with their accusations and begin performing. But the Stoic path is different. It's quieter, more confident. It trusts that time and character are the ultimate arbiters of truth. Take, for example, the story of James. He was falsely accused at work. Whispers behind closed doors, misleading emails, subtle sabotage. The temptation to fight back was strong. He could have sent rebuttal emails, called meetings, defended his reputation, but he didn't. He stayed calm. He focused on his work. He let his results speak, and over time, the lie unraveled. The people behind the deception exposed themselves through their own patterns. James didn't need to raise his voice. His silence, consistency, and integrity said it all. This doesn't mean silence is passive. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things quietly. Instead of shouting at lies, build a life of truth. Show up, be reliable, excel, be kind. Let your track record create a story that lies can't compete with. People may gossip, but over time, truth has gravity. It pulls everything else down. Fighting. Lies also drains you emotionally. It creates anxiety. You end up living in response to other people's narratives rather than writing your own. Let them talk. Let them twist the story. You're not here to play in their theater of illusion. You're here to build something real, something enduring. The Stoic reminds himself, does this lie touch who I truly am? If not, let it pass. When you are clear within yourself, when your conscience is clean, you don't need to convince anyone else. You stop explaining, you stop defending, you start living, and in time, people notice. Not because you force them to, but because truth endures. Lies fade, noise dies, but character lasts. 3. Betrayal doesn't deserve your reaction. Few things hurt as deeply as betrayal. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or a partner, betrayal carries a sting that feels personal and unjust. The immediate instinct is to react, to confront, to accuse, to make the other person feel what you're feeling. But reacting emotionally gives power to the betrayer. It shows they've gotten under your skin. It lets them occupy your peace. Real strength is quiet. It's in choosing to step away without drama. It's in choosing your dignity over vengeance. Betrayal doesn't deserve a performance. It deserves distance. Sarah learned this firsthand. She was betrayed by someone she deeply trusted, a friend who used her vulnerability against her, spreading private details and turning mutual friends against her. The temptation to call it out, to set the record straight, was strong. But instead, she chose silence. She withdrew without explanation, and in her absence, the weight of guilt shifted. The betrayer began to feel it. Those who had turned away began to ask questions. Slowly, truth emerged. But Sarah didn't wait for validation. She moved forward with peace. You see, your reaction is often what a betrayer craves. It makes them feel powerful. They want to see you break, to see you angry, to see you desperate. But when you offer silence, when you walk away without theatrics, you deny them the satisfaction. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects their guilt, their dishonor, their emptiness. You don't owe anyone a dramatic exit. You don't need to post about it, explain yourself, or create a scene. Sometimes, the quiet disappearance of someone who was once deeply loyal is the loudest message you can send. And here's the truth. Silence heals. Talking about the betrayal again and again reopens the wound. But when you close the door with grace and say nothing more, you give yourself the space to heal in peace. You grow, you move on, and you rise. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control what others do, but we can always control how we respond. Choose silence, not as an escape, but as an elevation. Choose it not because you're weak, but because you value your peace more than revenge. Let others feel the absence of your presence. Let your silence echo louder than your words ever could. That's not surrender, that's self-respect. 4. Insults are invitations. You don't have to accept. Insults are emotional traps. They are bait, carefully wrapped in provocation, meant to lure you into a state of reactive chaos. When someone insults you, they are often trying to pull you down to their level, not elevate a conversation. The words may sting, the tone may cut, but behind most insults lies a simple truth. They lose power the moment you refuse to accept them. Think of insults as invitations to a mental battlefield. You don't have to attend every war you're invited to. Just because someone slings words in your direction doesn't mean those words have to live in your mind. In fact, the moment you decide not to internalize the insult, you become untouchable in a way that deflects not only the attack, but also the intent behind it. David, a middle manager at a tech company, once found himself the target of a harsh and public critique from a colleague during a team meeting. The room went quiet. All eyes were on David, waiting for his response. Many expected him to lash out, to defend his name, to throw verbal punches of his own, but David didn't flinch. He stayed calm, took a slow breath, and said nothing. That silence wasn't weakness, it was power. That silence wasn't avoidance, it was composure. In that moment, David chose self-respect over emotional retaliation. His silence spoke louder than any witty comeback could have. The colleague who had hoped to provoke a scene was instead left standing alone, his words echoing awkwardly in the quiet that followed. Why did David's silence strike so deeply? Because dignity doesn't come from fighting back with the same tools used against you. It comes from demonstrating that you operate on a higher level. When you remain composed in the face of provocation, it sends a clear message. You don't control me. And that, ironically, is often the most humiliating outcome for someone trying to attack you. Stoic philosophers understood this principle well. Epictetus taught that it's not the things that happen to us that disturb us, but our judgment about them. If someone calls you a fool and you don't believe it, then it doesn't harm you. The insult only penetrates if you open the door to it. This isn't about being emotionless, it's about being emotionally intelligent. There's strength in self-restraint. It's easy to lash out. It's harder to master the art of detachment, to realize that your peace isn't worth sacrificing for every petty provocation. Social media has made this more relevant than ever. The internet is a breeding ground for cheap shots, anonymous criticism, and baseless insults. Engaging every time you're insulted online is like fighting a never-ending war where no one wins. Instead, letting those comments fade into silence not only protects your sanity, it also reveals which voices are worth listening to. Not all insults are loud. Some come dressed in sarcasm, passive aggression, or backhanded compliments. But the tactic remains the same. Provoke a response, pull you into their emotional storm, and every time you react, you give them power. So the next time someone insults you, pause. Ask yourself, do I need to pick this up, or can I let it fall to the ground where it belongs? You'll find that most insults only have power when you hand it to them. Your silence, your unbothered stance is the ultimate shield. Remember, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Your peace is precious. Guard it with silence. 5. The manipulative power of victimhood, and why silence breaks it. There's a powerful kind of manipulation that doesn't scream, threaten, or command. It whispers, it cries, it plays helpless. It's the manipulation of victimhood. At first glance, the victim may seem innocent, even noble in their suffering. But for some, victimhood is a calculated mask. used not to heal wounds, but to exert control. It's a clever trick. Gather sympathy, twist stories, shift blame, and quietly turn people against you while appearing blameless. Rachel knew this all too well. She worked in a creative agency with someone who constantly played the victim. If deadlines weren't met, it was because everyone was against her. If a project failed, she'd claim she wasn't supported. Anytime Rachel brought up accountability, she was accused of being too harsh or unsympathetic. And when Rachel tried to clarify, explain, or defend her actions, it backfired. Her words were spun, her tone was scrutinized, and somehow she became the villain in a story she didn't even write. It wasn't until Rachel went silent that things started to change. No more justifying, no more explaining, no more defending. She let the manipulator talk, and talk, and talk. Over time, the cracks in her narrative became visible. Inconsistencies appeared, patterns emerged. Eventually, others began to notice the same tactics Rachel had endured in silence. That's the hidden power of silence. It reveals. When you stop giving manipulators material to twist, they often collapse under the weight of their own contradictions. Silence removes the energy they need to sustain their narrative. It forces them to either confront the truth or be exposed by it. Manipulators thrive on engagement. The more you try to correct them, the more they twist your words. The more you try to show your side, the more they weaponize your efforts. This is the emotional quicksand they create. And like quicksand, the more you struggle, the deeper you sink. By choosing silence, you're not surrendering. You're shifting power. You're refusing to be part of their drama, and in doing so, you expose it. Silence says, I see what you're doing, and I'm not playing your game. It starves the manipulator of attention, of validation, of control. Stoicism offers wisdom here too. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When someone uses false victimhood to manipulate, don't become reactive. Don't mirror their tactics. Hold your ground, stay calm, let your character speak for itself. In time, truth surfaces, patterns always emerge. People may be fooled for a while, but they're not blind forever. When someone constantly cries wolf, the village eventually stops listening. And when you remain steady, silent, and sincere, you give others a chance to see who's really who. This doesn't mean you should never speak up. It means choose your words wisely. Not everything needs a reaction. Not every accusation needs a defense. Sometimes the most strategic move is no move at all. In a world where being loud often gets attention, silence can be startling. It forces reflection. It disrupts the manipulative rhythm. It makes people wonder, why isn't she responding? What does he know that we don't? And that's when the truth has room to emerge. Don't let false victimhood drag you into a story that doesn't belong to you. Detach, observe, let time and behavior write the real narrative. Your silence, steady and intentional, can be the most powerful voice in the room. Let your silence speak, so the next time you're provoked, misunderstood, or betrayed, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Or would my silence say more? Silence isn't empty. It's full of intention. It's a choice that requires self-mastery, confidence, and inner peace. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing. If this message spoke to you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on how to build inner strength in a noisy world. And remember, in silence you find strength, in stillness you find clarity, and in restraint you find power. Until next time, stay grounded, stay silent, and stay strong.